If your holiday traditions don't involve beating a log until it defecates or eating toxic birds buried in seal fat, you are doing it wrong. History's version of Christmas is a chaotic nightmare of radioactive decorations, gluttonous tings, and home-invading skeletons. We are diving into the 10 weirdest, dumbest, and most dangerous festive facts that will permanently ruin your view of the holidays. Let's get weird. Number 10. The literal poop log of Catalonia. If you think finding a lump of coal in your stocking is harsh, you have clearly never spent the holidays in Catalonia, where the most beloved festive icon is literally a pooping log. Known as Tio de Nadal, this tradition is less about Saint Nick and more about making a piece of firewood defecate gifts. The ritual involves taking a hollow log, painting a smiling face on it, and giving it 2 little stick legs so it looks vaguely alive. For weeks leading up to the big day, children are tasked with keeping the log warm under a blanket and feeding it nuts and dried fruit every single night to fatten it up. This process turns the log into a temporary, revered family pet. Then on Christmas Eve, the love turns to violence. The kids grab heavy sticks, often their biggest and strongest, and savagely beat the log while singing a traditional song. This song explicitly commands the log to defecate sweets and nougat. If the log doesn't poop out enough candies or nougat, the lyrics threaten to hit it even harder. It is the only holiday tradition on Earth that successfully combines animal husbandry, domestic violence, and digestion into one heartwarming family event. It truly is a case of children beating the Christmas spirit out of a stick. Number 8. The drunken skeletal horse. The Welsh have a Christmas tradition that is undeniably cooler and infinitely more terrifying than standard caroling. Known as the Mari Lwyd, the gray mare, instead of cute kids singing songs, a group of villagers finds a real horse skull mounted on a wooden pole and attaches a white sheet to hide the person holding it. They often rigged the jaw with a spring so it could snap shut with a loud crack, creating a skeletal nightmare puppet. This squad would walk through the dark streets, knock on someone's door, and challenge the homeowner to a battle of wits called a punko. This is essentially a medieval rap battle where the horse skull insults you in rhyme, and you have to rhyme back an insult or an excuse for why they cannot come in. If you lose the rap battle to the dead horse, you have to let the creature and its entourage into your house to eat your food and drink your beer. It is effectively a home invasion, but with more poetry and skeletons, proving that sometimes the only way to save your beer is to insult a dead animal's dental structure. Number 7. The poisoned reindeer urine. Have you ever wondered why Santa's reindeer can fly? The answer might not be magic, but rather a massive dose of hallucinogenic drugs. In the Arctic Circle, the indigenous Sami people noticed that local reindeer had a very specific dietary obsession with Amanita muscaria, those iconic red and white toadstools that are incredibly toxic and psychoactive. After munching on these fungi, the reindeer would start prancing around, twitching, and acting erratic, almost as if they were high as a kite and flying. The local shamans wanted to achieve that same spiritual trip, but the mushrooms were poisonous to humans in their raw form. However, the reindeer's digestive system filtered out the deadly toxins while keeping the psychoactive chemicals intact in their urine. So the shamans would collect the yellow snow or catch the reindeer pee and drink it to go on a spiritual journey. Under the influence of this recycled psychedelic cocktail, they often reported the sensation of flying or their souls leaving their bodies, giving birth to the legend of the flying sleigh.
Number 6. The toxic tinsel. Before plastic took over the world, Christmas decorations were a heavy metal affair. Literally. From the Victorian era all the way up until the early 1970s, that shiny silver tinsel you draped over the tree was made from real lead. It was incredibly popular because it didn't tarnish like silver, and it hung beautifully due to the weight, making the tree look spectacular. The downside, of course, was that families were covering their living rooms in a potent neurotoxin every single December. Children would handle the tinsel and then put their fingers in their mouths, or the family dog would chew on a strand, leading to gradual lead poisoning just from trying to be festive. It took decades for health officials to realize that maybe, just maybe, wrapping the symbol of joy and life in a heavy metal that causes brain damage wasn't the best idea. The FDA finally convinced manufacturers to stop producing lead tinsel in 1972, ending a long tradition of toxic holiday cheer. Number 5. The $8,000 centerpiece. In colonial America, specifically in the 1700s, there was no greater flex than owning a pineapple, which served as the ultimate status symbol rather than a snack. These tropical fruits were incredibly hard to import before refrigeration, often rotting on the ship before they arrived, so a single pineapple could cost the equivalent of $8,000 in today's money. Because they were so obscenely expensive, eating one was out of the question for almost everyone, so people would use them as the centerpiece for their Christmas dinner to show off their immense wealth. But what if you wanted to look rich but couldn't afford the fruit? You could literally rent a pineapple for the night. You would pay a fee to a shopkeeper, take the pineapple home, put it on your table so your guests would be jealous, and then return it the next day so the shopkeeper could rent it to another social climber. If you actually sliced it up and ate it, you were either royalty or completely insane. Number 3. The man-eating scarecrow sidekick. In the Alsace region between France and Germany, Santa doesn't travel alone. He brings a sidekick named Hans Trapp, who makes Krampus look like a cuddly teddy bear. Legend says Hans was a rich, cruel knight who turned to Satanism and eventually cannibalism to satisfy his twisted cravings. After being exiled to the forest, he disguised himself as a scarecrow to hunt and eat children who wandered too close. In a bizarre twist of holiday spirit, he was eventually struck by lightning by God himself, but his spirit lives on as a Christmas companion. Now he travels with St. Nicholas not to give gifts, but to scare the living hell out of naughty kids. While Santa hands out chocolate, Hans Trapp stands there looking like a demonic scarecrow, reminding children that if they misbehave, the alternative to a present is being eaten by a medieval ghost. Number 2. The explosive dinner party. We all know Christmas crackers as those cardboard tubes that make a small pop and contain a terrible joke in a paper hat, but their invention was literally fueled by explosives. In the 1840s, a London confectioner named Tom Smith tried to sell French-style bonbons, but nobody was interested until he was inspired by the crackle of a log in the fireplace. He decided the sweets needed an element of danger to be exciting, so he added a friction strip containing silver fulminate, a legitimate explosive compound. When he launched his bangs of expectation, they were an instant hit, because Victorian children apparently loved anything that sounded like a gunshot at the dinner table. It turns out that the only thing missing from the holiday dinner was a chemically induced explosion to startle Grandma, proving that pyrotechnics are the key to marketing success. Number 1. The rotten bird in a seal. If you have a weak stomach, you might want to skip this one, because the Greenlandic Inuit tradition of kiviak makes fruitcake look like a Michelin star dessert. This is a winter delicacy reserved for festival occasions like Christmas, and the recipe reads like a horror movie script. To make it, you take a seal skin and stuff it with about 500 little seabirds called auks. You do not clean the birds, you do not pluck the feathers, and you certainly do not remove the beaks or feet. You shove them in whole, sew the seal skin shut, and seal it with grease to keep the air out. Then you bury this massive meat sack under a heavy rock for several months to let it ferment into a soft, decomposed mush. When Christmas rolls around, you dig it up, bite the bird's head off, and suck out the fermented juices. It smells like a strong blue cheese and rotting flesh, proving that people will eat literally anything to survive the winter. We just proved that our ancestors were completely insane, but I guarantee we missed something. Which one of these terrifying truths blew your mind the most? Was it the cannibal scarecrow or the fact that your tinsel gave you lead poisoning? I want you to expose your own culture in the comments. What is the single weirdest or most embarrassing holiday tradition from your country that deserves to be number 11? Shock me with your local madness. Smash that like button if you learned something disturbing, and subscribe for more history that ruins your childhood.